What's going on, YouTube? This is NC Outdoors. Back at it again. I know it's been a long time since I've made any kind of content, so please bear with me. I'm trying to come up with new content. Hopefully I have some things in the works here soon. So I'm going to get into it. This isn't going to be about anything outdoors. This is going to be about what's going on in the news in this country, what's been going on for a long time. And I know there's going to be people that don't agree with me, but this is public or social media, so I'm going to state my opinion. Police shootings. And how most of the time, the majority of the time, police aren't held accountable for their actions. There's been so many police shootings against black males, other minorities, and things are going to change. I'm not going to say they have to change. They are going to change. It seems like every time there's a police shooting involving an unarmed black male, the first thing that people want to do is bring up, oh, this person had a criminal history. This person did drugs. This person had that drugs in their system. They had this kind of drugs in their system. Oh, they shouldn't be or shouldn't have been resisting police. Got it. I understand you're entitled to your opinion. But let's get some things clear. Just because somebody has drugs in their system doesn't mean they should be murdered by the police. Just because someone resists arrest or resists the police doesn't mean they should be murdered by the police. But that seems to be a common thing on social media when it comes to comments about black men being shot by the police. Where are all those comments when these celebrities are out there, multiple DUIs, multiple drug incidents or overdoses and all that stuff, but yet, guess what? You're not down to them. You're still paying for their movies. You're still paying for tickets to go see them play sports. But we're not talking about that, though. That's the problem in America. Oh, Barack Obama. Oh, he's not an American citizen. We need to see his birth certificate. This is coming from the same idiot that says, oh yeah, I have no problem showing my tax record. Obama shows his birth certificate. He's man enough to do that. But you got this idiot, this clown, that can't even share his tax records. Multiple lies to the American people. But people were so brainwashed by Trump, fed into his lies, they believed him. And he sat there and said during one of the COVID briefings, disinfectants kill the disease, bleach and all that stuff. And he looked over and said with a serious face, is there any way that we can inject the body, disinfect the body? But then people want to say, oh, he was just kidding. He wants to say he was just kidding. It's a bunch of BS. Whatever Trump says, people believe. Black Lives Matter. Oh, they're all criminals. They're terrorists. They're local terrorists. What about the people that stormed the Capitol? What were they? Oh, they weren't terrorists because they weren't Black Lives Matter. And to think a Republican has the nerve to say he would not fear for his life if the Capitol riots happened again. But if it took place by basically black people, but he said Black Lives Matter, he didn't say black people. But we all know what he meant. He would fear for his life. How much racist can you get? Talking about killing people, killing the vice presidents. Stormed the Capitol. Treason. But that was okay though, because that was a bunch of white people doing it and it wasn't black people. I can imagine the comments that would have been made if it would have been black people. There would have been so many black people shot and killed if that would have happened. That shows the difference. Yes, skin color does make a difference. It does matter in this country. It's been proven. But you know what? I'm getting so tired of hearing people say, oh, there's no racism. Black people are always trying to play the race card. Well, you know what? Why don't you go look, if you don't know who Emmett Till is, why don't you go look up Emmett Till and look at his pictures. Look at what his black skin caused him to endure. Because he was accused of doing something that he didn't do by a white lady. Go look that up, please. How many black people falsely accused because they're black? They look black. All black people look the same. Go look that up. A black man spent, I think it was 40 years in jail because the white lady that was assaulted said he looked like the person that assaulted her. Even though the person that assaulted her had a beard. He didn't have a beard. No, excuse me. The person that assaulted her didn't have a beard. He didn't have a beard. This is like the next day that he was arrested. Can't grow a beard that heavy and thick in 24 hours. Trayvon Martin. Let's take a look at that. George Zimmerman. How do you get off scot-free of murder when you were told by the police, the dispatcher, the person you're talking to stay in your vehicle? But nope, he gets out, decides that he's going to follow Trayvon Martin, try to hem him up, and got his ass whooped by a teenager. Oh, I feel for my life, so I'm going to shoot him. Didn't Trayvon Martin have a right to defend his life from a stranger that accosted him, tried to hem him up? He had no idea what this person's intentions were. Didn't he have that same right? According to this law, he didn't, because the person that murdered him was found not guilty. But you know what they want to bring up? They wanted to make Trayvon Martin look so bad because he's a black teenager and he had marijuana in the system. Let's go there. Let's go there. Black, white, let's go there. The average teenager, black, white, Mexican, whatever it may be, probably do have marijuana in the system. But when it comes to a black person, that's like a freaking crime. But when it comes to a white person, oh, why does that matter? That's not what we're talking about. But that's what white people do. Not a lot of white people do on social media. Oh, he deserved it. He had drugs in the system. Oh, he deserved it. He was a criminal. So when your son or daughter is accosted by the police, detained in that manner, with their knee on your son or daughter's neck for that amount of time, let's see if you say the same thing. And see how you feel about people saying, oh, they deserved it because he or she was a criminal. Or he or she had drugs in their system. Oh, they had warrants. So what? They had warrants. Does that mean that gives you the right to kill somebody as a police officer because someone has warrants? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right. It's identify the threat, and you escalate up to lethal force as necessary. Second shooting of a black man within a couple months where a cop has mistaken a cell phone for a gun. How can you justify that? Big square cell phone doesn't even come close to being in the shape of a firearm. But that's going to be your alibi. That's going to be your get out of jail free card. I thought it looked, keyword, looked, or keywords, looked and thought it was a gun. Wow. You're that afraid of a black male with something in her hand. You do not deserve, nor should you be, a public servant, aka police officer, in this country. You know the risk when you sign up for that job. Don't want to hear that. You knew how stressful that job was when you signed up for the job. Don't want to hear that. That's part of your job. Dealing with the stress and the risks that come with it. Just like every soldier, military personnel that served this country. You knew the risks when you signed up. You knew that there's always a chance you could go to war. And especially since Iraq and Afghanistan has been going on, all the times that people have served multiple deployments, we all knew the risks that comes along with that. We all knew the stress that comes along with that. We all knew that we might not even make it back. But guess what? We did our jobs. We identified our threats. That's what we did. We didn't say it looks like this guy here. Oh, it looks like he has a cell phone. But we're going to mistake it as a gun. That's what you have eyeballs for. That's what you have backup for. You can't properly identify a weapon. You should not be a police officer. Just like the lady that shot and killed that young man. You know what everybody says? Oh, he was resisting arrest. Oh, he was trying to flee the scene. You know what? He drove off when he got shot. Because he was murdered. Because a veteran police officer with 26 years on the force that was in charge also of training wasn't involved in the training herself. That's how that happens. You get complacent. Oh, I've got X amount of time on a police force. I know what I'm doing. I don't need training. So I'm going to pencil whip this. Yep. Here's my certification for my training. Even though I didn't participate in training. Guarantee a lot of that's happened. And she had her weapon out the whole time. I truly believe that. Because how can you take your firearm and maneuver it around a cop that was in front of her, who, if I'm not mistaken, had his taser out? Your gun is in front of your face. You're maneuvering the gun around your partner so you can allegedly tase this person. Clear as day. Doesn't look anything like a taser. Bright colors. Tasers are bright colors. Police officers carry. Accident. Well, you know what? You just cost somebody their life because you cannot properly do your job. Manslaughter at the least of a charge. You cannot properly do your job. No excuse. No excuse for that. You got 26 years of experience. So how many years of experience do you have carrying your sidearm and a taser? Knowing that your taser's on the opposite side of your dominant hand. But like everybody said, well, like so many people said, I don't think she was wrong. It was just an accident. Well, you know what? She's got to pay for that accident. She killed somebody. If I go out and accidentally shoot somebody, shoot somebody else's child, a white child shoot somebody else's child, are they going to say, oh, it was just an accident, no hard feelings, go about your day? Is that what's going to happen? No. I'm so sick of the stereotype that we are continued to endure as black men in this country. And people want to say there's no racism. People want to say black people are always playing a race card. Well, you know what? Because racism is still going on. You got people now, Republicans, that are so afraid, and people that support Republicans so afraid of black people being in positions of power. Because it's happening more and more often now that you're getting black people in positions of power. Oh, we're going to turn into a communist country. You know what? Maybe you should have been thinking it that way when Trump was in office here. Wanting to control social media, what people can say, what people can't say. Spreading lies. Assaulting women. But you know what people said? Oh, that's okay. He did it. It's okay. But if that would have been a black president making those comments, oh, I could only imagine. That wouldn't have been okay. And getting back to the Trayvon Martin case, one of the jurors, which was a white lady, after the fact of voting not guilty for George Zimmerman, I forget what talk show she came on. And she said afterwards, in her mind, she knew that George Zimmerman was guilty. If you knew that, why didn't you vote that way? You knew in your mind, without a doubt, that he was guilty, but your vote in the matter was not guilty. Are you serious? How would you feel if that was your child and that happened to you, and someone comes on TV afterwards that was on a juror saying, without a doubt, I knew in my mind that this person was guilty, but I voted for this person to not be guilty. Even though I knew. I understood the facts. I knew. How could he not even get manslaughter charges? Because he got out. If he never got out of his car, Trayvon Martin would be alive today. He got out of his car and stopped that young man. And that's what happened. Just like in Ferguson. Mike Brown. How you get shot in the top of the head from that distance away? Nobody runs at you that way, looking down at the ground, charging at you like that. And that police officer had the nerve to say, oh, he was so big and I was so small, I was afraid. Did you not think that you would encounter people that aren't the same shape and size that you are? How full of bullshit can you be? If you're that afraid of a black man or someone that size, you don't need to be a police officer. Turn in your gun and badge and go flip burgers or something. Scot-free. Breonna Taylor. And you know what? I heard so many people say, oh, that's what she got because she had a boyfriend that was a drug dealer. Well, you know what? The guy that was in the house at the time wasn't a drug dealer. They went to the wrong house. Had the wrong info. The wrong intel. She was murdered by the police. But guess what? Oh, you got killed? Oh, we're sorry, but we're not going to charge anybody. Since when, as a police officer, do you not have to identify your targets once again and you just spray and pray that you hit the person that has a gun or fired at you? When does that happen? Out of all the people that said they did not hear the police announce themselves, they used that one person to justify the shooting that said, oh yeah, I did hear the police. Oh, we go with that one. Out of 13 people, 12 didn't hear anything, but one did. That's who we're going to go with. That proves our case. That one person out of 12. If somebody kicks in your door and you have guns, don't announce themselves, are you going to say, oh, I'm going to sit there with my gun in my lap and turn on the lights and make sure it's not the police? Because when you turn on the lights, that could be somebody breaking into your house that already has a beat on you. When you turn the light on, you just give them a better shot. No justice for Breonna Taylor. Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake, oh, he had a knife. He had his back to the police. Got shot in the back 5 times. Oh, it was justified. We can shoot people in the back 5 times. But let a military personnel shoot a civilian in the back. See what happens. Oh, you're going to get some jail time. Because you shot him in the back. Let me shoot a criminal in the back that's fleeing from my house. Well, they're no longer a threat, Mr. Williams, so why did you shoot him in the back? They were fleeing from your home. You're getting some jail time. You're getting some charges. This immunity that police officers have needs to stop, and it's going to stop. Like the white cop in South Carolina, that I can't remember the guy's name. I think he didn't have any license, or he might have had a warrant or something. He jumped out of his car and ran from the officer. Yeah, he was wrong. He jumped out and ran from the officer. I got that. But you know what the officer did? The officer gunned him down, went and got the gun out of his car, laid it next to him, planted it on him. But guess what? That dumbass officer did not know that there was somebody recording the whole thing that he did not see. False report and all that stuff. And now he's trying to file an appeal. You murdered somebody. And then planted a weapon on them. Try to make it seem like they had a gun in their hand. I remember stories that I used to sit back and listen to my relatives tell me about how it was in the 50s and 60s. How they were treated. But you know what? White America, the majority of white America, don't want to acknowledge that. Nope, we don't want to talk about that. Oh, why you got to bring that back up? Because that's still a part of our history. That's still a part of us. That's why. That's why. Just like with black farmers. Black farmers did not all give up their land. It was taken from them because they couldn't pay their loans back. Because by the time they got a loan, the crop season was over with. Then nobody wanted to buy their crops because they were black. Then people the surveyors or the property boundaries started encroaching on this person's land. Next thing you know, that person went from 50 acres to 15 acres. No, I'm not making this up. This is stuff that actually happened. This has actually happened in this country. That's why you do not see any big time black farmers in this country. They're all white people, white farmers. You can't be a big time black farmer in this country because of the color of your skin. You can't get those USDA loans. You can't get those loans to buy new equipment, to improve your cattle herd, to improve your grazing lands. It's damn near impossible. You might get some, but you won't get what you actually need to continue to succeed and to grow. You can look that up too. Because there's a black cattle rancher, I think he's from Virginia, and he has a lawsuit now, I think with the USDA and I forget what other associations, just because he was a black man trying to have a successful cattle ranch. Nope, you're black. His applications were torn up and thrown in the trash can. He's seen them. Nope, you're black. Again, don't believe me? There's a documentary on YouTube about black sugarcane farmers. 80s, 90s. Black sugarcane farmers were so successful. I'm going to tell you a story about this one family. I think it was 3 brothers. Their whole family, they each had like their own farms. They had so many acres of land that they were farming sugarcane on and making so much money. White farmers around there were jealous. They felt that they should not have more land and should not be making more money than they were. So yes, they did go to like places like USDA and these places that buy sugarcane and complain to them. So you know what those places started doing? This farmer goes out and people might say, well, you shouldn't need a loan. You know how many the average farmer gets a loan every day. I mean, not every day, every year. Usually that's how they buy their seeds, through loans, and they pay them back. That's how it works. Not all white farmers own their land. A lot of it is rented. But it's damn near impossible for a black man to rent farmland. That's another one. But getting back to these sugarcane farmers, and I'm not going to edit this video or nothing. Getting back to the black sugarcane farmers, they take out loans. They enter these contracts with these buyers to grow X amount of crop and all that stuff. And at the end of the season, after they've spent so much money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, because that's what you spend when you have a farm and you're farming thousands of acres. Just imagine the fuel price alone involved in that. But at the end of the season, when it comes time to harvest, oh no, we're going to renege on this contract. So they've invested all this money, time, man hours, and thousands of acres of crops just for it to sit there to go to waste because no one's going to buy it from them because they're black. And that is a true story. And this one in the 60s, 50s, 20s, this was in the 90s. Please go look it up. This is ridiculous. So afraid. Why are people afraid for black people to succeed? Somebody please answer that question for me. And it's not everybody. It's not. I just want to know, someone please comment below. Why are so many people afraid to see black people succeed? Whether it's in education, a job position, a farmer, a cattle rancher, police officer, firefighter, doctor, lawyer, small business, big business. Why are so many people afraid to see black people succeed? Because it puts them out of their comfort zone. But yet, you know what? We've heard so many times about Black Lives Matter. They're burning down the towns. They're looting. But you know what people don't say? Back in the day in Oklahoma, the Tulsa massacre, when a part of Tulsa had such a successful community of black people that had their own schools, doctors, lawyers, businesses, very successful, wealthy people. There was an incident that took place. I forget what it was. I think a black man was accused of something, and he was killed. And guess what? White people came across to that very successful, wealthy neighborhood for that time period, killed innocent people, who knows how many. But guess what they also did? They looted the houses, the businesses, took expensive stuff before they burned the houses and stuff down, businesses down. But we want to talk about looting today. And yeah, there are some bad apples. There are people that loot. Yeah. Nobody supports that. That's done out of anger, and that's done to, well, you know what? We're going to take advantage of this situation and take free stuff. And people do that to cause controversy on purpose. But the main thing we want to focus on is Black Lives Matters, all those protesters, they're looters and terrorists. But we don't acknowledge or want to acknowledge what a lot of white people did. How innocent black people were murdered because of hearsay. Their homes and businesses looted and burned to the ground. We don't want to talk about that, do we? Nope, we don't want to talk about that. What about the KKK? There are some people that, I forget what Republican, oh, that crazy Republican, I think it was her that was saying Black Lives Matter should be considered the biggest terrorist group, the most dangerous terrorist group in the country. What about KKK? They've been around forever. What about all the people that they murdered? What about them? They're not a terrorist group? They should be. They should be. Because they have murdered thousands of black people. How come they're not labeled a terrorist group? They have rights, so why don't Black Lives Matter protesters have rights? It's okay for the KKK to protest, but if Black Lives Matter people want to protest, oh, here we go. Terrorists. They're going to burn the city down. Look at what happened at the Capitol. Look at what happened at the Capitol. The same people talking all this shit about black people and Black Lives Matter didn't have a single thing to say about what took place at the Capitol. Their mouths were closed. Just like this faked election. But then you have people, again white people, protesting while they're trying to count the ballots, trying to stop them from counting the ballots and saying stop the count. You had a lot of white people saying, oh, where Trump is winning at, let's keep counting those ballots. But where Trump is losing at, let's stop counting those. Stop counting. But everybody says, well, I'm not going to say everybody, but all those Trump supporters want to say, oh, Trump won the election before the election was even over with. And I guarantee you, a lot of those same freaking Trump supporters use absentee ballots. But it was a problem because it didn't go in their favor. Wake up, people. This is America. Not white America, not black America. This is America. And you are not going to shut down black people. We are going to stand for what's right. And we are going to continue to thrive and prosper. Because we have every right to do so. Every right.